So today we got our brand new trailer or music video for 9, of course featuring the new song that we're going to get inside the game, Mad Hatter by Avenged Sevenfold. But of course with this we got a ton of new looks at the new map 9. We've seen areas we've never seen before, we've seen features that we've never seen before or now are confirmed to be inside this, and there's a lot of interesting things here inside this trailer that I want to share with you guys. And of course if you guys watch my videos in the past, I don't do like a full breakdown thing. I've never really done a full breakdown. Instead what I do, I just get what I believe to be the most important things from these trailers and share them with you to make sure you guys at least get those ones, and the things that you may have missed that I also think are important. But anyways, with that said, let's actually jump into this. So what I want to do is not actually get into anything. Well, I guess it's kind of what we see in the trailer throughout the entire thing. It's like the story they're telling throughout this music video that I really want to touch on first, because it's actually a little interesting. Because if you're paying attention to this trailer, I've watched this over a couple times and I'm pretty certain that this is what the trailer's trying to tell. Because at the start of the trailer, you see the characters dying over and over again in a bunch of different ways. In fact, the very first frame you get in this entire trailer is actually showing all 4 of the characters dead, which is interesting and all. But then if you progress through the trailer, you see the characters still not really working together. In fact, there's a scene where you see Shaw leave behind Bruno and he actually ends up being killed by the boss zombie. And it just looks like they're failing over and over again. But what's interesting is that sometimes after they die, you could actually see kind of a replay of the intro cutscene where they first open their eyes and awaken inside 9. And because of this, it makes it feel like they are in some sort of loop already. It feels like they're going for that loop thing all over again, which is something I wasn't really expecting out of the storyline. Not that I have anything against it, but it's just something I wasn't expecting out of this storyline. So it does seem like there's a loop here, whether they're aware of it, whether they're the ones who created it or not, I'm not sure, but it seems like they're returning with this loop. But of course that's only what's going on for the first half of this music video, because the second half you see a shift in what the characters are doing, because instead of failing over and over again and dying, it looks like this time they are now working together. And you see when of course Scarlet saves Diego from being killed from a zombie from behind, you can see that she killed the zombie before it got to him, and then you see Shaw helping out Bruno. So you can see that there's a shift in what they're doing. Now they're working more as a team, and this seems like this is very successful for them, and because of that they look like they could just continue through this and find Pack-a-Punch and things like that. And that's just at least what it looks like to me, at least what I'm interpreting from this. Now for what that could mean for the story, I'm not exactly sure, because this could mean something that for the story that it just means that you have to stay together. This is going to be very important. The bonds between these characters are very important. But again, that's kind of what we had during Black Ops 3. If you remember back to their music videos, you would see clips of them failing and turning on each other and all that good stuff. But now of course if you play the map and you see the other versions of it, in those ones you could actually see that they're successful, like completing the Easter egg or the mission, whatever you want to call it, and then of course they can continue. And it looks like we may be seeing the same thing over and over again, but I'm not too sure if it's actually going to play a big part in the story or if it's just going to be a music video thing like it was in Black Ops 3. Personally, I mean, I think it's going to be just like the music videos from Black Ops 3 all over again, but I'm kind of hoping that's not the case. And I know bonds were pretty important inside Black Ops 3, but it wasn't really shown as much unless you really watch those trailers. But we're going to have to see how it all turns out in this one. But at least that's all I want to say about the overarching story it seemed like they were telling in this music video. But now for the things we actually see in there, and the gameplay, visual things and all that good stuff. So the first thing I want to point out, and I know I don't normally point out small things like this inside these trailer highlight breakdown things, whatever you want to call them, but just because it's the first time we've ever seen one in this new storyline, and of course that's a trap. And it just, I mean, there's nothing really important about it except how they activate it by turning the skull upside down, and that activates. But really the only reason I wanted to point it out is because we've never seen a trap in this storyline before, and I do think it's worth pointing out. just going to point this guy out because he's a boss zombie. I mean, you just got to point out the boss zombie probably. This is the best image we'll get of him for a really long time, so I'll just point him out. Again, I don't normally point out the smaller things, but just because it's a new storyline, I'll make a small exception here. Now, this is probably the second most interesting thing that we really see inside this trailer, because you see Diego and Bruno in this area. It's kind of underground. You can tell it's this underground area, and they're fighting zombies, and that's fine. So there's going to be underground area. But then you see the camera go even lower, and you see none other than Scarlet on even a lower level than that. So what this is telling to me is that this map is much bigger than we all thought, because think about all the areas we've seen so far. We've seen the arena area, we saw kind of the outside of the arena area, then we saw an underground area where you saw the boss in our storyline trailer for the Chaos story. We saw an underground area there, but it wasn't this area. This area right here is a more glowing area, somewhere we'd never seen before, and this is something I find quite interesting, and it feels like to me that they're trying to show you how big this map is, because if you guys remember, everyone was assuming that this is going to be a small arena area where you're just going to use melee weapons, which obviously they say is not the case, and it looks like they're trying to stress that even more here. So I think that's pretty much exactly what they're doing here. I can't say anything else because, I mean, they're just showing how big this map is. I mean, you see these catacombs-ish areas, you just see so many different locations, and later in the trailer I'll point it out when we get to it, but you could actually see there's another outside green area that it looks like, just again to show you how big this map is. But of course we'll get to there when we get to there. Now, I've already talked about this Shaw and, of course, Diego betraying each other. Well, Shaw betraying Diego and leaving him behind for the boss zombie. But, of course, what I want to point out here is just the boss zombie. I know we've seen him before, but just want to point him out because he's pretty important to the game. You know, I can't imagine. Which is interesting because this is the second boss zombie we've seen. Of course, we saw that dude that has the axes, and now we also see this dude. And, of course, we've seen them before, but it's just kind of interesting how many boss zombies are going to be inside a single map, which is something I really wasn't expecting out of a Treyarch game, because normally they limit their zombie types, and we're going to even see even more zombie types in a little bit, which is going to be even a little more interesting. So I want to stop right here because this is kind of strange to me, because when I saw this clip originally, I just thought it was a trap, and of course it may as well be a trap, but when you see the zombies running through it, I mean, they're completely fine. They're really not getting damaged at all that we could see, but I don't know what it is because of that. I thought it was a trap, but it may be something else. I'm not exactly sure. Another thing I want to point out real quick is that you do see the boss zombie like jumping over these zombies, and at first I thought this was that boss zombie that we saw all dressed up with the axes and stuff, but this is exactly why I wanted to point out how many boss zombies there are, because this guy's different. I mean, we already have so many different types of boss zombies, 3 boss zombies in one map. And on top of that, in a couple frames time, you could actually see this zombie transforming into this green looking zombie. And of course, if I had to guess what that was, it's probably going to be a Sizzler type zombie. If you guys have played World War II zombies, then you guys would know. At least that's what I'm assuming, but we don't know anything for certain. But that's what it looks like to me at the very least. But that's already like 5 different zombie types, including the normal ones. Like, that's just something Treyarch doesn't normally do, and that's like kind of Sledgehammer Games thing, where they have like 50 billion different zombie types, which is quite annoying. And I mean, it's not something I actually am looking forward to be completely honest. I don't want to be going up against a bunch of different zombie types. It's just not something I'm a fan of that much, to say the very least. But I don't know, we're going to have to see how it all works out, see how many zombie types we actually end up with inside a single map, or I don't know, but hopefully it's not bad. Hopefully it's fine. Maybe they found a way to do it right where Sledgehammer didn't, but I don't know. But anyways, the next thing I want to talk about is actually this pack punch here. So you see Diego seemingly put one of these, I guess, skulls or heads on top of these spikes, and they all go down, and maybe you have to collect the skulls around, or the heads around the map, and you have to put them together, and that will open your pack punch just like it does right here. And as you guys can see, it's not originally just Pack Punch by itself. At first, it's just this weird statue looking thing. I'm not exactly sure what it is. But then, after activating whatever he did, it turns into Pack Punch. Now, of course, Pack Punch being here by itself isn't that interesting, because we kind of expected that. But what really caught my attention, this is why it's the most exciting thing for me throughout this entire trailer, is you actually see what's inside Pack-a-Punch, because instead of just being some random machine or something like that, well, random is not the right word, but some machine, instead you see that he puts it into this mirror that seems like it's somewhere, like somewhere else, like some other dimension. I'm not exactly sure how to explain it really, but I mean, it just looks very interesting because you see these statues trying to reach for this gold or this shining area over there. It really catches my attention, and I really hope that this is going to expand into something more, because this really does catch my attention. After seeing this, I actually got really excited for how exactly they're going to be explaining the story here and explaining how Pack-Punch works, and I'm just really excited. I really hope that these mythologies really do play a part into this story. I really hope that Pack-Punch is also a part of that. And I don't know, I'm just really excited to see how this is all going to play out. And that's what really excites me about this trailer more than anything, seeing this Pack-Punch and seeing how it's this window into some other dimension or whatever it may be. It's just something that it gets me really excited, to say the very least. I mean, out of everything, I had to say that got me excited more than anything. So this scene right here is actually a little interesting because you can see these zombies just break through a wall. So destructible walls aren't something we've really seen in zombies besides the rebuildable walls, which are nothing to this extent. But what also catches my attention is that yes, these two characters are shooting at the zombies, but the zombies just keep going and they break through the next wall, which is very strange. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, but a couple things to take from it is just that there's destructible walls. I wonder if they're going to be rebuildable. That's one thing. But on top of that, it's like they're not really attacking the characters, but maybe that's because of a recording reason or something like that when they were recording this, and there's just some reason like that. But it doesn't seem like the characters were really being chased by the zombies there. But again, we're not really sure of anything, at least as of now. But I do find it quite interesting that there's destructible walls on that level inside zombies. Hopefully it's something special, but we'll have to see how it actually works out when we actually get our hands on it. I said actually like a lot of times there, but anyways, let's move on to the next thing. So right here is what I kind of talked about earlier, where you see this outside green area of the map. You can see in the background there's still the pillars, so you do know it's part of 9 and not the multiplayer map like I originally thought. But regardless, you do see more areas of the map again. This seems like they're trying to stress how big this map is, and it's not as small as everyone thought it was going to be. But for the very last thing I want to talk about is something we see right at the end. This is kind of strange. So you could actually see this character right here getting one of these vials or whatever you want to call them, and he drinks from it. But if you pause frame on what it is before he looks at it, that's Pop Shocks from Black Ops 3. So to me, it seems like these vapors are just going to be your replacement for the Gobblegums that we had in Black Ops 3. That's all it looks like what's going on here. It looks like Pop Shocks is going to be returning, because if it wasn't Pop Shocks, why would they use the exact same image? I can't imagine they would do that. And maybe you could say, oh, they're reusing old assets just for the trailer, but why would they add the Pop Shocks logo to this instead of just leave it blank, which would have been better, because then people really couldn't say much. They couldn't say, oh, they're reusing old assets or something like that. I really don't get that. So it seems much more likely to me that we're going to see a return of Gobblegums in their exact same form that we saw before, and maybe even some of them or most of them returning, except they're going to be called something else this time, because we do know that Jason Blundell said there's not going to be Gobblegums, but who's to say that they're not going to be the exact same thing as Gobblegums, except they're going to be called something else or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but it looks like that's what's going to be going on here. We're just going to be seeing Gobblegums return, except being called something else. That's honestly what it looks like it's going to be, and probably the most likely case out of everything. But anyways, that's about it for this trailer. I know it went actually a little bit longer, but this was a long trailer. It was almost 5 minutes, so I would love to hear what you guys are thinking about this. Are you guys liking what you're seeing here? Are you guys disliking it? That's about it for me. If you guys did enjoy the video, go ahead, do all the normal YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, bell, share, and especially bell. But I'm going to go, and I'll catch you guys in the next stream or video.